completing the square, the first thing that you need to do when you are going to complete the square is to make sure that the term that has the square on it, in this case the 2p squared, doesn't have a coefficient greater than 1. So since this one has a 2, we need to fix that. So we have our 2p squared plus 8p minus 15 equals 0. Now to make that have a coefficient of only 1, we need to divide everything by 2. So now we'll have p squared plus 4p minus 15 over 2 is equal to 0. Now you can rewrite the 15 over 2 if you want. We're going to simplify our answer and have radicals as needed, so that generally means that you should input your answer as a fraction, a simplified fraction, and with the radicals we're not going to use our calculator to get an approximation. So from this point we want the 15 over 2 on the other side of the equation. When we complete the square, we just want our terms with a variable in it on one side and the constant on the other. So now we have p squared plus 4p equals 15 halves. Now we need to decide what we're going to add here and what we'll have to add it on both sides. You can't just add on one side of an equation and not on the other. That would make it not equal anymore. So we have to decide what we're going to add here that will make this side a perfect square. And then to do that, we're going to take the coefficient of the p term in this one. You could have x's if you had x squared and x. But you take the coefficient of that term and you divide it by 2. So I'm going to move this to the side so that we can see 4 divided by 2, and it's positive 4. Keep the sign on it. And then I square that. So that gives me 2 that I'm squaring, which is just a 4. So that's what I need to add to both sides. So I'm going to add 4 here, and I'm going to add 4 on that side. Now the reason I kept this way is so that I know what this side is going to look like as a perfect square. It's going to be p, and then that's a positive 2, so it's p plus 2 squared. So I already have it factored as a perfect square if I just recall that portion there that I already figured out. So then on the other side, I would like to have these with common denominators. So if I'm going to have a 2 on the denominator there, and I can't just put 1 down there. So if it's 4 over 1, I can multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 2 and get that. That's going to give me 15 over 2 plus 8 over 2. And 8 over 2 is still a 4, so that is fine. And then I can add those up. So 23 over 2 for that side. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it up here because I've kind of run out of space. So I've got my p plus 2 squared is equal to 23 over 2. So now I'm ready, since I have something squared equal to a number, to take the square root of both sides. So I'll take the square root. And then I'll just have p plus 2, because taking the square root of something squared, those are inverse operations, they undo each other, so I just have the p plus 2 is equal to the square root of 23 over 2. Now I'm going to need to rewrite this. I've still got this plus 2 that I have to subtract. We don't like having a radical with a fraction in it. Basically, we don't like having radicals in the denominator. So I'm going to have to fix this square root of 23 over 2 before I can deal with this 2 on the side that has the p. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rationalize the denominator, which means I'm going to multiply this by square root of 2 over square root of 2. So I have p plus 2 equals, and now I have a square root of 46, but it's over, I've got square root of 2 and square root of 2, which is square root of 4. I'll rewrite this to the side, 46 over square root of 4, but we know what the square root of 4 is. It's just a 2. So now I'm ready to subtract 2 from both sides of the equation. So p is equal to negative 2. Now this is one thing I forgot to write down so far, is this is plus or minus, because when I take the square root I could have a positive or negative there. So I'm going to write this as plus square root of 46 over 2, which means I have to go back and get common denominator so that I have it as a single expression, and I'll have p equals negative 2 minus square root of 46 over 2. Now again, we'll do the same thing with the negative 2 that we did earlier with the 4 to make the denominator work. So right now you could write it over 1. So I'm going to rewrite this, and I want the denominator to be 2, so I need to multiply numerator and denominator by 2. And then I only have room to write one more, so I'm going to write one more and you can write the other. But that will give us p is equal to, and I've got negative 2 times 2, so that's negative 4. I've got my, I'm writing the top one here, plus square root of 46, but now it's all over 2. And so the other one would look like p is equal to negative 4 minus square root of 46 over 2. And you'll use a comma between those. So this one was a little messy, but that's how it works.